Hey, Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
As you know, my name is Dan Fisher. I run a video production company and digital marketing firm in Chicago called Bottle Rocket Media.
Accidental agency owner. How'd you get started?
Sort of accidentally. I'm a TV guy. Grew up in New York. Spent close to a decade in LA before I got tapped on the shoulder to work on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And when I moved to Chicago to work on the show, I figured there was about 2 years left on her contract.
Okay.
And I was just arrogant enough as a New Yorker, Los Angelino, to think that Chicago wasn't big enough for me. So I sort of always anticipated I would do something after the show independently. I think I kind of assumed I was going to leave Chicago. But my run at the Oprah Show lasted a decade because she just kept renewing her contract and things and so then 10 years later, I've got 2 kids. We're in the school system. We've got a house. Like, we're doing all the right stuff. Can't leave. Not leaving. Nor do I want to. So I left TV. As anybody who's been in TV knows that's was not a minute too late, and just started making videos for people. And shortly thereafter, my partner joined, and that's when the fun really began to kick in, and that's when it became a real thing.
Very cool. What did you like about the TV part?
Well, I liked more than I didn't like. I like telling the stories. I like cameras and lights and all the nerdy filmmaking stuff.
So you're just judging me right now on my camera setup?
No, not at all. But I like it to a point. I like what it can do. And then, a lot of my crew can confirm this when they say, "What camera do you want to use?" I'm like, I don't care. Does it shoot 4K? Does it shoot a certain format? Great. It doesn't, beyond a certain point, I lose interest. So it's more about capability. So I liked a lot about TV. Working on a daily show, it doesn't matter how much you enjoy it, is enough to crush even the strongest of souls.
Was it just because you kept reinventing everything? Like you were just moving the goalposts every day, or what?
A little bit. I mean, it's a deadline, one deadline after the other. It's long hours, it's long weeks. The show must go on, and so it's just a lot. Even if I were to stay in TV, let's say, I'm sure I would need some sort of change of speed or change of direction because at the Oprah Show I was mostly an editor. And it's just a lot of hours. I had 3 or 4 teams a week that had a show on. So that means I had a deadline 3 or 4 days a week. And it just was on and on,
Okay.
And I got my 10,000 hours. I know how to tell a story. I know how to look through footage faster than anybody I know. I know, how to produce and direct and do all the things that I had already learned, but then sort of perfected under that watch.
So tell us one of the secrets or one of the strategies on telling a better story that you use at the agency that you learned in TV.
Well, in TV, I learned how to tell a story. In TV, I learned how to tell 2 stories. The story that I thought was really important and the story that Oprah thought was really important, right? And so...
Did she get a veto you a bunch?
She gets a veto. She gets, a lot of times organizations like that, it's not just in TV, there tends to be an audience of 1, right? And that's not untrue in that there's teams of people. I think there were, plus or minus 300 people on the staff at the time that the show ended. But she is the boss, and she sees it, and she has things to say when it's done. And so a lot of my work she wouldn't see until the taping of the show. So you want to tell the best story. And for me personally, I'm not a daytime person by naturally. And so the story that I would tell is probably a little bit more dramatic, a little bit less daytime friendly, a little more nitty gritty. And then there's the daytime version. And then there's the daytime version that, you want the boss to like, if for no other reason that you don't want to change it, and so from that, what I took away is, you have to know your client. You have to know who you're working with to tell the right story for them. Because it doesn't really matter what story I want to tell. I'm not an independent filmmaker raising money to make my film. I'm telling someone else's story, whether it's to sell a product or to promote a business or to introduce a new team member, like whatever it is, like it has to fit in their brand, in their universe. So like even with graphics, like nobody flinches when you start a design project and you ask for brand guidelines, right? What are the fonts? What do we use to do all of those things? But if you mention something even remotely close to that when it comes to video, people kind of scoff and they're like, well, why don't you just tell the best story? But the best story is what best serves the client.
Yeah. What are the stories that you're telling at your agency to get your agency to the next level?
So we are primarily a nonfiction agency, which I think is why it pairs so nicely with the digital marketing side of stuff, because we really utilize the data to inform us and help develop the creative. So for us, we do a lot of documentary work. We do a lot of work that's educational in nature, that informs people. And we do a lot of stuff that's spokespeople. It's not necessarily scripted, but it's more commercial oriented, that allows us to work with actors and help develop scripts and that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. What's one thing that really kind of surprised you in your, you've been doing the agency for many years now. What's one thing that really kind of surprised you?
Every day there's a surprise. I'm sure you can relate. You
Mhm.
think it's going to go, when you're working in the creative space, you don't know how something's going to be received until it's out there in the world. And so one of the things that we've started doing a handful of years ago is A/B testing stuff and seeing what plays and what doesn't. And my marketing team will do it with the subject of an email, like really minutia stuff to me. So I'm often surprised at what little changes can do to get a product, get a video or a campaign, more clicks, more notices, more views. It could just be something subtle, graphic at the top, or you're taking what you thought was the end of the video and you're putting it at the top. It could be a complete re-edit, but it does surprise me. After all these years, I like to think like, oh, I know what works. And I do know how to tell a good story. I do know what the right placement is. And you just never know until it's out there in the world.
Yeah, it could always be like one little color, could be the
Right.
way someone's looking. Like literally, if I look this way versus this way, on a
Right. And on the
video, it's
marketing
just
side,
weird.
it's like, what day did it come out? What time did it come out? What else came out at the same time? Where's the traffic? What's happening in the world that's distracting people? All the same challenges that I think commercials and filmmakers and TV like have been having since the creation of the medium, of like timing factors in.
How have you let go? Right, like you come from this really amazing story and this experience with, in New York and LA and with the Oprah show, right? So you have all this experience to tell a story. And I find a lot of agencies run into this where they're like, well, no one has enough knowledge. Like you just said, you have over 10,000 hours, did the 10,000 hour mark, right? Which now
Mhm.
you've mastered it. How do you give that mastery to your team? How do you give that permission to them in order to, tell a story?
I want to answer this question by going back and re-answering the previous question. The surprise for me is how much I enjoy mentoring and teaching and managing people.
Mm-hmm.
When I started this company, I was just a filmmaker and I had very little business experience. I had read a lot of books. I had studied, I had done my homework, but nothing compares to getting your hands dirty and doing it. And so, and so I feel like what makes me lucky or what makes me really fortunate is I found that running a business is just as enjoyable for me as saying action and cut. Is just as exciting to me as coming up with the idea or being in the edit and putting the 3 bites together to create the piece. And I that surprises me often when I reflect on it, because like a lot of times you'll read about the CEO who focused on business his whole life. He retires at 67, picks up a guitar, and he's a virtuoso, and he never knew it. In a little way, and I'm not calling myself a virtuoso by any means, but in a little way, like I feel like that person. Like I grew up in a creative family, doing something in the arts or media or creative was almost an automatic. There was no conversation about business or running a business or going to business school or any of that stuff. And then I started doing it, and I really enjoy it. And I think that's a part of my success story, however big or small. That's like I know plenty of men and women that just are doing exactly what I'm doing, but they're miserable. They can't wait to get back to set. And so, to answer your question, we do a lot of rounds of internal revisions. We do a lot of conversation um, um, internally in order to teach people. Right? There's having 10,000 hours in telling a story doesn't necessarily mean you're going to tell it better than your intern that just arrived, but it does mean that you have experience in manipulation, experience in revising it, and thinking from other perspectives or seeing it from other perspectives. So I think for us, what we do is we encourage collaboration. Of course, we encourage everybody to create as part of a team, and we really do. And so if one of my editors is working on a project, it doesn't mean that I don't get the opinion of the other editors.
Was it always that way, or was there a point where that switch was kind of turned on?
Well, it wasn't always that way because for a while I was still doing it. And then in this weird period, we were so busy that a lot of things were being made that I didn't even lay my eyes on. Right. I was so busy running and selling and, doing operations and talking to the bank and, that you lose focus. And I also needed to come into my own.
Yeah.
It's the doing versus teaching thing.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to be able to know how to do it, but it takes time to learn how to impart your wisdom onto others. But then also, as a creative person, what I still struggle with, but I'm very aware of it, is: are you making it better or are you just making it different?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal for me.
We every year with our mastermind community, we rent out a huge ranch and we have everyone come. And a couple of years ago, and we've always adopted this since, one of our members brought up, he said, I read something, I don't remember where it was, but he goes, we're going to get rid of the words good, okay, and well. And so think about a lot of times, and that changed their perspective and their team's perspective, and then it changed all of ours as well. Right. So a lot of times you'll be like, especially when you get a piece of creative and you're about to send it to the client, what do you ask as the creative director? What do you think? Well, it's good. It's okay. Right. Like you think about when your spouse says this to you, like you be like, how was your day, honey? And she goes, it's okay. It was fine. It's fine. And you're like, something's wrong.
Right.
And so it's just that mentality. And it took me a long time to figure the same thing out. Like we have to mature. Like we expect when we start an agency that we're going to be as big as the ones we look up to. But we haven't seen all the shit they've gone through even before they started their agency. And you have to get to some kind of maturity. Like, I felt like my maturity started when I hit my 40s, I think, like 42. Like this was a couple years ago. Like before that,
Right.
I'm like, I don't know nothing.
Right. Well, I think I spent a lot of time if I've been around 15 years, I'll just say the middle 5 years, trying to fit a circle in a square, trying to be the agency that I read about, trying to be, this thing that I thought I would grow into, kind of discounting my own experience. Like it's going to be whatever it's going to be within a certain limitation. And so once you call maturity, for me, I just had to grow into it. I had to like bang my head against the wall for a handful of years before I realized it was a waste of time. You kind of I kind of started over, or I assessed and I said, okay, what do I really want out of this? Right. Because at first the business was started based on, I just finished 10 years at a company. I'm on my own.
Gotta make
I'm going to
money.
make one video, then another video, then another video. Oh, I need a second camera. I'm going to buy a second camera, and on and on and on. But there wasn't the time that I needed to be targeted about it. So once you sort of embrace who you are, then you can look to all those examples for inspiration and sort of lean in certain directions, but it still becomes your own.
Yeah, my thing was I started my agency by accident. And I think a lot of people do. Or they started with intention, right? Like they were like, I got to get out of this TV damn spot, but I want to start a company to get more freedom and to call my own shots, tell the stories I want to tell.
Right.
But you really have no idea what's the end goal. Like it took me a long time to get clarity. And it takes some people a lot longer, sometimes a decade. Sometimes I've talked to people 20 years, and then we start helping them out, and then they start to get clarity that they can instill on the rest of the team, right? Like we have the clarity of what are the beliefs we have that we want our team members to have. Like, one of our core beliefs is being resourceful, sharing our knowledge, sharing our failures, having fun, just doing really great work. And what I found is when I started finding that, I could find the people I wanted to surround myself with that were my opposites, but believed in me. And then if I could give them the target that we're going after, now they can make decisions without me. Which that was the pivotal moment for me. And that was the freedom that I was always looking for.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're not going in the same direction, or if your team's not going in the same direction as you, forget it. You might as well stay home that day. I will say to that point, culture's been more challenging since the pandemic. And like my team has never been stronger, and we're all on the same page, and we're all, what do they say, rowing in the same direction. But it has been an interesting journey just in terms of culture, right? I mean, core values and our values, like if those don't match up, you just don't go, you're not invited through the front door, right? Like we've done enough recruiting to know right away if it's not going to work culturally. But it has been a challenge to get people in every day. There's been this, we have a hybrid business or a hybrid model. And so it's been more of a challenge to keep that momentum going when it comes to just the basic culture and, corporate culture.
I mean, all people have to do is just take them to a Coldplay concert. No, I'm just kidding. Too soon.
Yeah. Effective immediately. Company outings with cameras are out.
Yes. Yeah. Make sure you take your spouse.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Not your girlfriend and boyfriend. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, are there with your struggles around that, are you hiring different types of people? Meaning, like, are they Gen Z, baby boomers,
It is interesting.
millennials? What?
I'm not choosing different generations because of that reason. Coincidentally, in the last 5 years, my team has skewed younger. So suddenly I have a fair amount of people surrounding the age of 25, and the compromise that we've come to, or that I just realized in order to keep the talent that I want here is we're doing hybrids. So it's three, Tuesday through Thursday, mandatory in office, Monday and Friday work from home. I certainly enjoy that. And that allows us to be, hardcore for 3 days in a row, and people continue to work on those work from home days. But it's just something in this Chicago creative community that I needed to back up, lay off my Gen X tendencies of like, we must be in 5 days a week, 50 hours and blah, and just take a deep breath and realize that the face or the personality of a creative person that is younger than Gen X has completely changed.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, especially when you put in that many hours, at the companies before and the deadlines, right? Like people are like, look, I have more options. But, the other thing that I've learned over the years is I used to think I needed to be the first one in and last one out. I needed to outwork everybody in the company. But what I found was that wasn't my fighting weight, right? Like everyone has a different amount of work schedule. And my work schedule I found is optimized at around 10 hours a week. And I can get as much done as someone would put in 40 or 50 in those 10 hours. If I go over, I get stressed. I go under, I'm bored. And I think everybody's different, right? And so what I haven't always done that. That's a complete lie. Cause like I was like you, I was like, work, work, work. Then when I realized it for myself, I went to people, I was like, look, I'm just going to delegate outcomes. Here's what we want to do.
Right.
And here's the deadline we need to hit it.
Right.
Go do it. Like if you need to take off, work from the top of a mountain or on the beach, I don't care. Just don't let it distract you and be accessible.
I agree. I mean, I agree to a degree. I mean, first off, like anybody, I encourage everybody. I'm like, you should take a month in an Airbnb. If I were younger without kids, and my kids are actually grown, so that part's easy now. So I might be the one doing it, but I'm like, why not work from New England in the fall, right? Why not wake up to that every day? But beyond that, like there's a certain element when it comes to creation.
You got to have some in the office
in post-production that when we're here, we thrive. And so my team members that aren't part of that core team, there's a little more leniency. Interesting though, hearing what you're saying, like, that's the luxury of running your own thing, is like you can choose your hours. And I've certainly, had the luxury of dialing them back. I lost my train of thought. Give me a sec.
Dialing back your hours for the freedom that you've created. Yeah.
Oh, but if you consider like my journey going from like 70-hour weeks on a TV show to then starting a business, the only way I knew how, originally Bottle Rocket was a volume model. And then, and so we were not working less at the inception, once the business got up and running, we weren't working less. We might've been even working more, and so there was a very clear, direction when a guy that you love and trust who's been working with you for decades, like, hey, if you take on one more video this month, I'm quitting. I'm like, all right, I got it. And so since then, and the pandemic did help with this, but since then we've been, working to cut off the bottom 10%, the bottom 20%, and elevate the types of projects we do. And, in theory, the budget will be commensurate. And that's sort of what's been happening. And so,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been really nice.
Oh, cool.
Because
Awesome.
I'm learning like you. Like if I do too many hours, I'm useless. I can't
Yeah.
lead. I can't react. I can't have conversations with clients. I'm just going through motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I guess that's the mentality too, is like always be learning. Like
Yeah.
as soon as I feel like I figured something out, something changes. Right.
Yep.
And, it's totally different and new. I mean, especially in your world with SEO and video with AI, right? That's a huge disruption that is here.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are trying to ignore it or fight it or
Yep.
complain about it. I'm just
Yep.
like, dude, we just got to adapt and figure it out and just keep going. Be like, look, what got us here is not going to get us to the next part. So how do we figure it
Right.
out? I think one of the traits
Right.
from the most successful people we've interviewed and most successful businesses out there they're just curious. They're always
Right.
curious and going,
Right.
let's test this out. Let's go here,
Right.
button here.
And what you said, like that's one of my truths. Like what we needed yesterday is not what we need tomorrow. We got to
Yeah.
constantly evolve.
Or
I do it personally.
ago.
Yeah, I do it personally. I do it professionally. That's how the digital agency came about in my company. We went from video to now doing video and full digital, and that's been an incredible positive in my life. And interestingly enough, coming from the side of the business where I knew how to do everything. Right. Earlier we were talking about letting go and imparting wisdom. Marketing is not my forte. So I have a great team that impresses me every day, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a relief.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, you're lucky about that because there's a lot of people that understand all their services like they used to do them really, really great. And now things have changed. They're like, I remember when I would code websites, like in HTML tables, and then CSS came out, and I looked at it, I'm like, what is this shit? Like, this is horrible. And I'm like, I was like, I couldn't keep up. I'm glad I let that go.
And now I can actually, it's the challenge for me on the video side has always been how do I work less in the business and work more on the business? Mm-hmm. On the SEO side and the digital side, I can just grow that business. I can just focus on business. Right. Yeah, I'm like, sure, we can do that. Can we do that? Yes, we can do that.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, this has all been a lot of fun, Dan. I appreciate you coming on, and for all of you, out there, if you're really kind of trying to figure out how to scale your agency without really kind of burnout and really kind of screaming into that pillow, late at night going, why is this not working? Because it's really frustrating doing it all alone. And really, if you think about running an agency is very lonely and isolating, and you think you have to do it alone. And if for the ones that are listening, if you don't want to do it alone and you want, other people that understand what you're going through, make sure you go to agencymastery.io, check it out. And until next time, have a swank day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.